What is going on, barbarians? We are back with another stream, and this time we're going to talk about the Galacticos. Yeah, what made Madrid so great? These players, man. Before we actually get into that, you got to like, subscribe, hit that notification button because I'm trying to catch up with 100 years of football. You know the saying. You know how it go for everybody that's been keeping up with my videos and you've been growing with me. And to let you guys know, I am dropping videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? All right, man, let's get to it right now. We ain't gotta wait. Yes, it's been a long day. I've actually been streaming all day. But let's get into it. Galactico.
The concept of a Galactico was popularized in the early 2000s when Real Madrid brought a flurry of superstars to the Santiago Bernabeu. And while the period from 2000 to 2006 is officially recognized as the Galactico era, I would argue there have been three distinct eras.
So, we're looking at it right now. So the Galacticos were basically what they said they all had superstars on the team all at once. They're saying there's three periods. Before we even get into this, which period is the best period? We got 06, we got 0 to 06, we got 09 to 15, we got 19 to 24. Which period was the best? Which Galacticos were the best? Galacticos 1, 2, or 3? Let me know in the comments. I'm going to tell you which one I heard of before I even got into football or soccer, and y'all was going to be mad at me, but I'll let you know at the end.
With very contrasting transfer philosophies, as well as results on and off the pitch. But the centerpiece of every one of these eras was one man who led Madrid out of dark times on more than one occasion. It all kicked off in the year 2000, when Florentino Perez wrestled presidency of Real Madrid. It seems strange to remember a pre-Perez era, but Lorenzo Sanz before him had not been doing a poor job by any means, with Madrid winning the Champions League twice under his stewardship and having a pretty standard transfer policy, mixing local talents with some key international additions. Madrid were successful, but it was all very normal, and fans wanted something more than that. What Perez represented was daring, something new and exciting. His campaign for presidency was built.
Okay, presidents. I'm thinking of coaches. I'm like, yo, if I'm like, it's the president because I was thinking of Mourinho and Guada. What's his name? What is his name? Oh, y'all gonna kill me. I did a video on them going against each other. I did a video on the coaches. I can't even think of their names. With the managers. I was thinking of the managers. I wasn't thinking of the actual presidents that running
on two foundational principles. Clearing the club's massive debts, which he achieved by selling the club's training ground under dubious circumstances. More importantly, he
hey, like I said before, if you got to cheat to win, cheat to win.
Promised that all the biggest stars in the world would make the Santiago Bernabeu their home.
And some of y'all, oh, it's unfavorable. You're talking about cheating to win. I'm trying to tell y'all, listen, by the time y'all get to this video and you've seen all the other videos before when I was doing the scandals, which I still got more scandals to do, you notice every time, anytime, okay, lecture time. When I was doing the scandals, right? And you notice every time the winning teams have some type of little scandal going on, something peculiar happened for them to win, or the winning clubs. This is a thing, period. You have to be very naive to sit here and think that people are playing fair to become the best. As you notice, when people become the best at anything, there's always something off to the side. Barry Bonds, roids, Tiger Woods on some type of drugs that numbed him up. You get what I'm saying? You're looking at all these other players. That's just from what's going on over here in America. So when I was doing these scandals and you're looking at what's happening with these clubs, and these clubs are winning leagues and winning championships because they're buying referees and actually paying other players. Marseille, 1993. You know, people are cheating to win, man. It's like right now we're seeing the rise of GLP-1s. And everybody is mad at everyone for the GLP-1s. Saying, oh yeah, what if there's some type of long-term thing for these people losing weight? They're not in the gym. They're not doing it correctly. What if there isn't? What if there isn't? What if they just lost the weight and that's just what it is? People, listen. This game that we're playing here of life, this GTA thing that we're playing here, this simulation that we're playing here, there's loopholes and there's cheat codes to this game. Find you one. I know everybody wants to be a noble person because they're like, oh, well, No rest for the wicked. You know, you reap what you sow. You're evil if you're a billionaire and all of this stuff. And they're going to have to answer to God at the end of the day. Everybody don't believe in that. There's 10,000 religions. Okay? There's 10,000 plus religions. Just because you may feel or your coping mechanism is saying, oh, something bad gonna happen to this person, or they're gonna have to deal with karma at the end. And what if they don't believe in karma? They don't believe in karma and dharma. That's Buddhism, I think. They don't believe in karma and dharma. That's not even Christian. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I know y'all about to be mad at me in the comments for even saying that. But it is what it is. People are cheating to win. People are finding loopholes to win. People are bending the rules to win. Everybody has a false sense of integrity. We understand about self-respect, morals, and principles, but the integrity, it's like, yo, yeah, I'm living right. Man, get them kids out of poverty, man. Kids are mad they poor. Your children are mad if you're poor. They are mad that they couldn't enjoy the other thing the other kids get to enjoy. Man, y'all better stop playing. It's really get rich or die trying. Put as many points as you can on the board. Yes, do that. Because all of this false sense of pride, oh, it ain't clean money, boy. You better go ahead and make something happen. I ain't telling you to do something illegal, but if you can find a way to get some extra money to do some things to make your family love you, because that's what it is. I'm talking to men. Men, we are loved conditionally. We are only loved for what we provide. I'm going to tell you that right now. Men, we are only loved for what we provide. Get you some money. When you have some money in your pocket, you feel a little better. You feel a little stronger. Them shirts fit a little better and shit. You know what I mean? She gonna suck it a little sloppier. My nigga, get some paper. I'm just telling y'all. But who am I? I'm just American learning about football. Hey, let's get back to it.
And he promised to slowly take over Europe by signing one global superstar per season, a Galactico. But it wasn't just that. He promised that he would hit hard and fast, not just by signing perhaps the best player in the world. He would be prying Figo from the hands of their biggest rivals, Barcelona. Fans' mouths were watering. The offer was too good to refuse, and Perez took up the presidency. And he delivered. Luis Figo would cross the Spanish divide, a cardinal sin, and he would pay the price as Barcelona fans took out their frustrations at his betrayal on him at every opportunity, in one of the most violent transfers of all time. But
They threw a damn rock at that man? Yo, whoa, was that a rock? They tried to take his leg out and throw a rock at him, man.
By breaking the world record. And it wasn't just a statement about the commencement of the Galacticos era, it was a declaration of war. The following year, Perez one-upped himself, breaking his own world record, bringing in 29-year-old Zinedine Zidane from Juventus. The year after that, it was El Firmino, who joined as the second most expensive signing of that window. Beckham followed, the most expensive signing.
All these names are the names I heard before I got into this. But the crazy part is I didn't hear about Real Madrid before that. But these are the names that I've heard growing up, because they did the Ben did like a Beckham movie, and then they promoted him, and then we just knew like Ronaldo had to go. But other than that, like very few names slipped through into American media.
Of his window, and then Michael Owen, who was the exception price-wise due to his injury record and contract situation, but as a Ballon d'Or winner, he still met the criteria of being a Galactico. Debatably, the final two Galacticos of this era came in 2005, with Robinho and Sergio Ramos arriving for fees in excess of 20.
So who was the best Galactico? Somebody let me know. Who was the best Galactico?
million euros, high transfer fees in the mid-2000s. The original Galacticos era was built on bringing in 1 or 2 star signings per season, and having those signings be in their absolute prime, with the average age of the Galacticos being 25. With a side with this much quality, success was bound to follow. Los Blancos lifted 2 La Liga.
So they were just stacking and stacking and stacking. I mean, that's a good method, at least get 2 a year.
And had a Champions League win that produced one of the most iconic moments of all time. But despite all of this, the Originals era was nowhere near a fairy tale. Despite the silverware, fans felt the utter domination they showed in the transfer market was not being matched on the pitch, and many believed the root cause of this was the Galacticos policy for many different reasons. Even a club as rich as Madrid need to balance the books, and Perez believed he had found the ultimate solution. A team of 11 Zidanes was too rich for any side, but what he believed he could build was a team of Zidanes and Pavons. Pavon was a promising academy player, and Perez's approach was to splurge on the stars and fill the rest of the gaps with functional transfers or academy players to foster a relationship with the fans.
So he was doing stars and role players. That's what it basically looked like, stars and role players. Let the stars do what they do and put people in place just enough so they don't mess it up.
It made sense on paper, but it also created a natural divide in the squad between the Galacticos and the rest. A difference which, by the way, was reflected in their salaries, creating further separation within the dressing room. This
Just the broke. So they're saying the brokies versus the rich ones. They was beefing.
dynamic did not just affect the Pavons, by the way. Non-Galactico signings also felt the strain, as Perez offered them much lower wages, as he had to divert every remaining euro he had to the Galacticos. Perez, of course, did not sign any of the Galacticos to have them sitting on the bench. Apart from their incredible footballing ability, every Galactico was a walking marketing unit, and in
That's what I was talking about how they marketed them. So here in America, right? Once again, we gotta go into the solo screen. Here in America, marketing is what we do. Edward Bernays. Okay, Edward Bernays, he's the nephew of Sigmund Freud, the father of psychology. And Edward Bernays, he actually created basically modern PR and propaganda. That's what he created. And he's the reason why we have breakfast here in the United States. Breakfast never existed whatsoever. He created breakfast because they wanted to sell products for Kellogg's. So marketing is how you understand things are out there. How you understand how things are out there and the perception of it. So two people could be selling cereals, but somebody could say, hey, this cereal is fun for the kids, it's healthy for them or whatever. And they could say, oh, this cereal is for the adults. This cereal, it'll help you with your bone structure, it'll help you sleep, whatever. It's healthy for the adults. But it could be the same company selling the same cereal under two different names. It's just how it's marketed. So I say that to say this, when I'm looking at the thing with the Galacticos, of how players were marketed in Europe, but they were marketed different in America. How they sold us David Beckham. We didn't even know David Beckham wasn't even American. It was just, he dated a Spice Girl. So Spice Girls were so big in America that even kids growing up thought they were American. And then seeing David Beckham, they were like, they thought he was like Tom Brady. How Tom Brady is now. America found their equivalent with David Beckham with Tom Brady. Until people start hearing, David Beckham speaking, like, he's from over there. But he was marketed like an American. And that's the same thing that's happening with Lamine Yamal, is they marketing him as basically the New York City Dominican. Like, that's how they marketing Lamine Yamal here in America. So how, like I said, I explained this is the marketability, so they can sell products here, because we are a consumer-based economy here in the United States. Okay? They sell us anything. If you want to get money, sell it to Americans. And then on the other end, we sell culture back to the rest of the world. That's one of the biggest exports almost in the United States. Like, that's intangible, as you would say, is like Black American culture. The way they packaged and sold hip hop, us in sports, billions, trillions of how they package and sell Black culture, movies, all of that. So this whole marketing thing, like, really, really mattered, because they know we're gonna pay quadruple of what you guys pay. Like, when we hear about the prices of what you guys pay for certain things, we be like, what? Like, we know y'all store items be insane. We know that. But we talking about like how y'all would pay for a ticket to a game and say, it was only 50 euros for this or whatever. That same ticket in America? No, that's gonna be 340 something euros or something like that. So they're like, man, if you want to make money, sell it to an American. You could make a car over there for $15,000 and turn around and sell it for $250,000 here in America. We are consumers over here. It is very nasty, very, very nasty. We're at the end stages of capitalism right now, where everything is a subscription. You need subscription to live, literally. You need a subscription to live. This is say I'm laughing, but that's just out of nervousness because it's really you gotta blink SOS. Help. Yes, it is. It is very terrible. We literally had it's called cost of living for a reason out here. How much does it cost to really survive? They took away all the trees to where you can't just go get fresh fruit off a tree or somewhere and survive off the land. They poisoned all the fresh water, so now everything has to go do a water treatment plant. So you try to drink something out of a natural lake or anything like that. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get very sick, or you're going to get some type of parasite and die if you don't have the proper filtering methods. You can't drink water out of your sinks anymore. You have to get bottled water. It's terrible. Okay? It's terrible. Yes, it was fun when y'all came over for the World Cup, but we had to get back to reality after that of this shit is crazy. It's fun when it want to be. It's fun when it want to be. They did a good job of showing y'all so basically, dang, I gotta go to this now. We have things called scenic routes, scenic highways. So when some of y'all actually got cars or vehicles or rented vehicles and everything, every route that they took you guys was a scenic route. And it was created by Robert Moses. It was created by Robert Moses. So what Robert Moses did, he's the father of redlining. So basically what redlining is basically how they redistrict and cut out everything, say, hey, people get less money over here, people get more money over here. But he also did city planning. So with the way they routed things, which is called the scenic route, the way they routed things was so you didn't have to see the impoverished people. Even the GPS is like that. But you don't have to see the poverty that was going on in America. So when you guys had the perception of, oh, America is this, that, and the third, because they kept you guys on the scenic routes. The GPS kept you on the scenic route to make sure you didn't cross nowhere into the ghetto at all. So from when you came from the airport down to the hotel that you stayed, even when you felt like you wanted to go a little bit to a restaurant or anything like that, all of that was part of the scenic routes. So you couldn't see, as they would say, the real America. That is by design, and every city is set up like that here in America. Okay, it's not even you might accidentally turn left and then end up somewhere. No, they make sure that you actually have to go out the way. We have something called food deserts here in America, where if a certain district does not make enough money, you will not have any type of nutrient-friendly food. It's crazy. I know we're supposed to be talking about football, but marketability. That's what I was saying about the marketability. That's what they marketed to y'all when they tell y'all the American dream, or how they marketed America and through all these big screens and parties and festivals in your face to market America's nice. Come on over here. Yeah, whatever. But they'll tell you that 80% of this shit is tore up. 80% of this is tore up. And people are struggling. People are one emergency away from straight poverty living on the streets here in America. That's all I got to say. Let's get back to football.
In fact, their marketability was often the biggest factor Perez considered when deciding who to sign, and Beckham in particular was viewed as a walking billboard. What you may also have noticed is that almost none of the Galacticos were defensive
Like I said,
players.
Beckham
The
being a
simple
walking
reason,
billboard.
it is much harder to market the best defensive player in the world than the best attacker. A similar framework of thinking that often works its way into the Ballon d'Or voting. So the on-the-pitch result of the marketing-based transfers was that the team was highly unbalanced, with too much attention on eye-catching attacking players. And matters got worse, as feeling underappreciated, defensive players like Claude Makelele left the club. It was a problem that each manager during the Originals era would find awaiting them, with Del Bosque's laissez-faire approach meaning the brilliant attacking brains in the side could flourish, but it also meant that the defense was sacrificed. This was a similar problem that Luxemburgo faced in his brief stint, and he changed the formation looking to fit in more flair players into the side, so that neither Perez nor the Galacticos would complain about who was on the pitch. Kiros.
So just because of that, they went and got more offensive players. They're like, man, our defense is trash. Help us. It was so trash to the point that people were quitting. Like, please help.
Took the opposite approach, looking to bring in more structure and defensive discipline to the side. But what that led to was more Galacticos on the bench than was ideal, as well as a less aesthetically pleasing style of play. And when looking at the performance of the first batch of Galacticos, it was very much hit.
Look at this. The performance score, but they made sure that marketability score was always up. You made sure, hey, you guys gonna bring in money. Yeah, capitalism ruins everything.
And miss. The marvel and the mess of the first Galacticos era came to a disappointing end, as the lack of dominance on the pitch, compared to their spend, paired with the increasing debt the club was taking on to make the Galacticos possible, meant that the fans became increasingly pessimistic about having Perez at the helm. 2006 brought an end to the Originals era, as Perez was ushered out of the club. His absence would prove to be nothing more than a hiatus. Los Blancos threatened to fall into chaos following his departure. During his 3-year absence, Real Madrid's blip in the Champions League threatened to turn into a hoodoo as they exited the round of 16 in each season. The emergence of Guardiola's Barcelona did not.
So that's what Guardiola. That's where he comes from. Once they switch, the presidents got him up out of there. Look at who they got. Look at it. It's Zlatan.
Not help, as Real Madrid were threatening to enter a barren era domestically as well, after initially having had decent domestic success in the years following Perez's resignment. The result was a chaotic period, marred by votes of no confidence, interim presidents, and allegations of vote rigging, meaning that Real Madrid burned through 4 presidents in 3 years.
4 presidents in 3 years is crazy. And I see with the vote rigging, I told y'all,
Until
nothing's
eventually,
fair.
they craved the clear direction of Perez.
You'd be a fool to
He
think
ran
everything
uncontested,
fair.
and it was clear that his time away had allowed him to refine his approach to squad building. The central ideology was still the same, as Galacticos was still the goal, and Perez's first window back made this abundantly clear. He signed a Ballon d'Or winner in Kaká, almost breaking the transfer record in the process. He
I'm gonna do a video on Kaká too.
one-upped himself, signing another Ballon d'Or winner, and this time making sure to break the transfer record in the process. That same summer, they brought home one of Spain's finest, and also went big on a future Ballon d'Or winner. A few seasons later, during the All-Star period, Perez broke the record again, this time with a Welshman entering the fray, and soon after, the World Cup's golden boy joined, as James Rodriguez donned the famous white.
So, they paid $100 for Bale. Was he even good?
Strip. James may have been the last bona fide Galactico of the All-Star era, but it represented a clear change in Perez's thinking. The age profile of signings had decreased, as players no longer had to be in their absolute prime. But more importantly, in addition to brand building, Perez was also now thinking about squad building. The squad building extended to the dugout, as a higher caliber of manager was also now key to the strategy, both in terms of tactical acumen, as well as being able to deal with the egos of Galacticos. Pellegrini would be the first through the doors, and he headed one of the most underrated seasons in La Liga history. Mourinho followed him, and the beautiful chaos of his tenure would define an era.
Yeah, he was talking. The way Mourinho, the way he did Guardiola, Classicos, they did 4 Classicos in 17 days. Craziness.
While Carlo Ancelotti, a wise old head, was able to bring calm to the club after the Mourinho storm. All 3 managers would broadly deal with a similar starting 11, which was defined by its remarkable balance, as the Galacticos knew they would be on the pitch week in, week out. But this was paired with non-Galactico players who did more than their fair share. And crucially, while these players may not have had the Galactico moniker upon signing, many of them were not far off Galactico level ability-wise, or they did more than their fair share
So they was basically getting all-stars at a premium. Yeah, they was winning.
Defensively. What this distribution of players, both ability-wise and positionally meant, is that the All-Star Galacticos were much more fluid. They weren't flawless defensively, but they were able to hunker down when needed, as we occasionally saw during the Mourinho era. But that same 11 were capable of being hyper-offensive, blitzing teams and putting away goals for fun under Mourinho and Pellegrini. But the balance and age profile of the squad meant that even post-Mourinho, a more hands-off manager like Ancelotti could put in place broad principles and trust the intelligence of his players to do the rest on the pitch. This refined approach to transfers didn't just mean that the All-Stars won more silverware than the originals. Their younger age profile upon signing meant that they were longer-term investments, whose era as a unit lasted longer. The careful squad building also meant players weren't signed for signing's sake. Each was brought in to fill a specific position, so with less star players on the bench, there was also a lot less disgruntlement about any player being on the bench. The higher level of scouting also meant that the bona fide Galacticos did better on average than the originals.
So they did it better because they brought in younger people and spread it apart. Hey, whoever they had to do to win, they
Perez
won
had
it.
perfected his strategy, but a businessman as savvy as him knew that not refreshing his strategy meant stagnation and eventually death. So he looked at the transfer market and made note of a few new things. They had an expensive stadium build on the horizon. Transfer fees for the very best players in the world were skyrocketing, especially in a post-Neymar to PSG world. There were now more clubs around Europe and the world capable of matching Real Madrid euro for euro.
That was the thing. They started going band for band. He said, "What euro for euro?" Yeah, they started going band for band with players and stuff. So I knew once the money really started coming in, capitalism started striking. That created competition.
And to top it all off, FFP was becoming a bigger and bigger issue, as the Galacticos Mark II were beginning to age.
What is financial fair play? That's a question I have for y'all. I've seen it showed up many times. There's FFP. So what is financial fair play? What does that mean? Like, is that like them giving them under the table incentives like we see with this Kawhi Leonard situation when they were giving him money through a straw man business? Like what is FFP? Can somebody please tell me?
Perez decided that he shouldn't wait for the entire side to age out before replacing them with one Galactico per season like he used to. New market conditions demanded a new strategy. Perez had spent big in the last couple of seasons of Era 2, and then there was a strange lull at the Santiago Bernabeu, as for 3 seasons in a row, Madrid spent less than 70 million euros. And then came the 18-19 window. The season defined how Florentino Perez was plotting to build the Galacticos Mark III.
I've heard of him many times.
Signings came in, and while 35 million for a goalkeeper drew attention at this time, what really caught the eye was the signing of a young Brazilian. Los Blancos had agreed to stump up 45 million euros for a 16-year-old, making him the 3rd most expensive teen in history. Vinicius wouldn't even be allowed to join the club by FIFA until he turned 18.
So Vinicius, this is why I've heard of Perez due to the fact of Vinicius. So the reason why I've heard of him is because he is actually signed to Rock Nation, which is Jay-Z's management, Rock Nation Sports, Jay-Z's management. So that's why we know, that's why I end up hearing about the names here in America as this sport is rushing into America very, very fast at this point. So you're going to start seeing big money. Like these $100 million transfers, nothing. It's going to be nothing to what you're going to see going to happen in America. To when these tech companies, when they start getting behind this sport, because 9 times out of 10 we're actually using the NFL stadiums also as soccer stadiums. So I gotta say soccer because whatever. Yeah, I'll say NFL stadiums and football stadiums. Americans go like, man, what are you talking about? But we're using the NFL stadiums to double as soccer stadiums. So like Atlanta FC, is it Atlanta FC or Atlanta United? I forgot what they are. They play where the Falcons play. But when we see the tech companies, they start getting behind this sport and start realizing that there's a lot of money in it, you're going to see record-breaking transfer fees. We're going to poach so many people from Europe. like what you saw with Saudi Arabia just did, you're going to see that happen too. You're going to see that we're like, hey, what do you want? Do you want 250 million? This transfer fee is $1 billion? Here. Especially when Steve Ballmer, if Steve Ballmer, if he loves that, like how he loved the Clippers, if he loves whatever football team or football club that he's going to buy, if he doesn't own one already, yes, he's going to pay that money. And he's the type to build his own stadium just for the team. He's one of those type of guys. Billionaire with no problem. He'll be like, hey, listen, man, all right, we got to pay $1 billion for this person. So we're seeing people get in early already. We're seeing a lot of rappers getting early already, and athletes, former athletes, they're starting to get in. I know LeBron James, I don't know if he's part of Liverpool or Manchester United. I know he got a stake in one of them. Michael B. Jordan, he's another African American black American actor. He actually owns a team, so he actually been showing up out there. So you're going to start seeing record-breaking stuff going on out here.
And even then, he first spent considerable time in Castilla before joining the first team. Regularly signing Galacticos in their prime, or even just entering their prime, had become financially untenable, so Vinicius was a statement signing. Get the Galactico, before they become a Galactico. A season later, Perez repeated the trick, signing 17-year-old Rodrigo for 45 million again, with the Brazilian again having to wait a year before he was eligible to join. One by one, Perez was bringing in baby Galacticos, who'd be given the time to bed in
Jude
and be an
Bellingham.
understudy before replacing an outgoing all-star Galactico, just like clockwork. Crucially, signing players so young meant they had not had time to build a global brand. It was the first era of Galacticos where footballing ability was the primary deciding factor, with marketability
They pushing Vinny over here. Tell you that right now. They pushing him over here.
because Perez now realized that the all-white strip had the ability to create the Galacticos. But there was still one traditional Galactico that Perez could not resist, as his old habits got the better of him when he signed a 29-year-old Eden Hazard in the final year of his contract for 100 million euros. But Hazard was a blip in this era, as Perez's strategy was now clear. Sign baby Galacticos young, even if for a high price, because 5 years from now, they would cost us double. Camavinga, Tchouaméni, Jude Bellingham, and Kylian Mbappe would walk through the doors season after season, completing a smooth transition from the All-Star era. And for the most part, the careful scouting has meant that the signings have not just been successful, but Madrid's investments have already appreciated.
And he's right about the marketability because we hear about Real Madrid over here a lot. So he's right.
Florentino Perez is what happens when football knowledge meets ruthless business acumen, and his approach to Los Blancos has seen them remain as one of the very biggest clubs in the world. And one of the most memorable eras of Perez's reign was when he appointed a certain Jose Mourinho. Click on screen to see.
Yeah, he gets it. He even got Mourinho. He's probably the best president that y'all had, period. Probably the best president that y'all had. But that's all for today. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one. Y'all be easy, man.